everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the NBA Hardwood Show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. Talking today's 6-game NBA slate, a little bit of a smaller slate on this Wednesday night. We got the new usual Wednesday crew here on DC, of course. We got Mangone, and we got the big man, Big T, coming off a nice little showdown shipper last night. I know, Big T, I think you broke it down on playback for the people. What'd you hit for? 30K, something like that. So congrats on that. Give us a little bit of the lowdown what happened there. And, of course, we'll be gathering soon for the RPS party. Mangone's already talking shit before the show about how he's going to take me down on the slap. So maybe we can go over that a little bit. Got some time on a shorter slate. Big T, man, how you doing?
Yeah, it was fun. I always enjoy last night. Just when you can go on a show and talk to the members, and I literally pulled up SaberSim on the live stream, started the process. I literally did the whole thing like I would do on my computer, uploaded the documents, changed my projections, walked through exactly what I usually do, ran the teams, didn't change anything afterwards, and just ran it, and then it won. So that's just fun to do on camera. I think people liked it. If they did, then definitely let us know so we can do more of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's always fun when you can go on and kind of talk through the process and have it actually work. Because sometimes we do that and then it doesn't go that smoothly. You have someone that doesn't crush. Everyone that we needed to crush kind of crushed. And if you were on the playbook or the playback, I think we ended up losing the college one, but we went 5 or 6-1 on the bet. So those playbacks have been fun. And like you said, the Run Pure party coming soon. It's going to be here before we know it this weekend, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think that's what it is. And yeah, Mangone's already chirping. I'm already about to get some action on DC and Stevie Boyton. If Stevie accepts the challenge, we need to get a sheet going. We got to get some action and different stuff. I might tilt Mangone real hard and say I got DC in ping pong. I might really get him motivated on the show early on here.
You think back against the wall, Mangone's your favorite? When Big T bets against me, that's the best, man. I will stare your ass down every single time.
It's one of my favorite things, though. I'm on the opposite side, and every time he gets a point, he just looks over and just glares at me.
Listen, when I'm motivated, I think it's a tough gamble. That's all I'm gonna say. Me motivated is a different animal. That's all I'm gonna say.
DC's
got always He's always a man of few words over there. So I'm sure that's all he'll say about the manner. But no, yeah, congrats again, Big T, on the score. And like you said, it is especially satisfying to come through with a nice win like that when you kind of laid it all out for the people. And it's like the bolder, the stronger the takes, the more satisfying it is to win, and the more painful it is to lose. We've both been on both sides of it plenty of times. I will say, we got baseball coming up in less than a month now, opening day, actually, frankly, a month from now. And I know we're going to be doing more stuff kind of like you guys been doing on the playback, showing more SaberSim, showing exposure, showing how we're trying to build winning lineups, something that, as DFS evolves and those tools, especially for Run Pure Sports members, become more and more important. I do think it's important to, kind of evolve the shows a little bit with them and show how we're trying to build and use them to build winners ourselves. So obviously looking forward to baseball and the implementation of all that stuff. Mangone, you probably got plenty to say over there, but I don't want to further motivate you, because I know, if I start talking shit about your basketball game, you'll be in the gym tonight correcting your jump shot, hiring a shooting coach, and we don't want that, because I don't think me and Boyton will be doing that. But how you doing on this Wednesday, Mango?
You're okay. I feel pretty confident. I will not be shooting tonight, but I did shoot last night. I'll tell you that. I shot for a while, and I was the last one out. So, but I don't need to do it tonight. We'll be good. But yeah, I'm having a good day. I'm excited to see you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll consume some alcohol, some gummies. We'll play some sports. It'll be a good time. I can't wait. Of course, we'll be gambling as well. We'll be doing shows for you guys, so don't worry about that. And I'm excited for sure. Should be a good time, and excited for this slate. Nice little $4 like they've been having on DK, so that'll be a good time to talk about that. And hopefully we can keep the heater going. Right, Big T's got some things going on here, and we got to kind of ride the momentum. I'm happy to jump on the train. Maybe Big T can spread some good mojo this way.
Yeah, Mangone, I think it is time to retire the Swifty box over there until next football season. You can join me in the mountains here in beautiful Colorado.
It's time, but like you guys are forcing it. Can't we just like let it happen? You guys are
I'm on these guys' side. I'm on Kevin and DC's side. We got to retire the.
Yeah,
the
you're just
box.
on their side because you get owned every single time, Big T.
The Swift box. No, that's not. I already accepted defeat to Mahomes. I accepted defeat before that last drive. I said, "Go ahead, Mahomes, shove it up the backside." I accepted it. It's time to move on from the box, though. I mean, you gotta upgrade. Get us like a Run Pure picture of you owning somebody or something.
Yeah, we'll get a picture. We'll get a nice snapshot of me hitting a game winner on DC, and I'll say, "Get off my court."
Wow.
Today's 6 games late. First game on the slate. We do start at that 7:30 p.m. Eastern time window. New Orleans or Dallas and Toronto. That'll be the first game that we talk about. Dallas favored by 3 in this one. Both of these teams mostly healthy. Maxi Kleber is doubtful for Dallas, and then Jakob Poeltl is questionable, as is Chris Boucher. So I guess Toronto potentially a little bit short, at least in the front court. But for the most part, the key pieces for these teams are going to be good to go. We've seen pretty ridiculous run right now from Luka Doncic. Of course, he's been just on fire recently. And big total in this one, 241.5. Dallas favored by 3. Start with you, Big T. Dallas and Toronto, really good game environment here. What do you see DFS-wise?
Yeah, and you got that was last night, right? The Luka was last night. So you got a slight chance that something could happen on a back-to-back too. Luka between watching Jokic and Luka, it's just ridiculous how good these guys are. I mean, absolutely. You watch Luka Euro step through the paint like in slow motion, and you just realize, I've said it forever, speed is the most overrated thing in basketball. And that sounds crazy, because you do need to be athletic and stuff. And yes, Luka and Jokic are athletic, even though people don't think they are. They're very athletic to do what they do. But it's just funny when they go in slow motion, they almost come to a stop sometimes. And then the defense moves so far that they'll just literally shoot it like it's just them in the gym. And it's ridiculous to watch that. But as far as Dallas on a back-to-back, if everyone's in, assuming the key players, it's Luka or nothing, and Luka's just always in play. Kyrie, you can leave Kyrie in the player pool too, but I'm not going to any of these auxiliary pieces unless someone else is out. They just got too many guys, too many pieces priced fairly. You look at the Toronto side, and yeah, we got to watch the Poeltl news. If he's out, I think you can go to guys like even Kelly Olynyk has been decent. It feels like a K Phallic play to me, where he loves these guys like Kelly Olynyk sometimes. But I think you could go there quickly. I've been playing quickly a bunch. I could see him because you got Luka and Kyrie are amazing on offense, but they're both terrible on defense, which is why this team is not a true contender. Even though you got the donkeys like JSU and these guys pushing Dallas, they're fine and they're fun to watch, but they're not a true contender. There's just not enough defense out there, and there's not enough probably offense to get it done. So you got guys like Scotty Barnes, quickly, RJ Barrett, Poeltl if he's in. All these guys are good plays to me, and even guys like Grady Dick have been playing more. 23 and 22 minutes his last 2 games, 23 and 31 fantasy points. He's only 3,800 against Dallas on a back-to-back. I think you can pull that trigger a little bit in there, depending on who's in. But I like the Toronto side way better than the Dallas side.
Yeah, Toronto side does look good to me. I think they'll perform well here. And, like most nights in the NBA DFS streets, kind of, how viable Luka is kind of depends on if there's good value or not, which, frankly, we don't really know yet, right? A whole bunch of questionable tags on the slate, but not many guys really confirmed out as of yet. Let's go over to you, Mangone. What do you see Dallas and Toronto?
Yeah, Dallas-Toronto is definitely an interesting game. The Luka argument is what I pretty much say on every show, like you just mentioned, is like hey, like I definitely need the value to make it work. And I do think we have the value to make it work. We talked about it yesterday on the Up the Lock show. You had the value to make it work. A lot of people were going to those tier 2 studs, but you had the value to make it work if you wanted to. So that's going to be super important. So we're going to focus on playing Luka if we have the value that we think is correct, which I think we will. I'm interested. Like in MME formats, I will have some Luka for sure on this slate. I will say guard is kind of deep up at the top. There are some good options that we'll talk about in some other games. One of them is in this game, actually. It's Scotty Barnes, which you can play him at small forward. But Scotty Barnes, he's definitely a good play. He has some upside. You can make the case for James Harden as a better play in that tier 2 range, kind of like yesterday. But overall, Luka is definitely a good play that we want to get to. Anything else on Dallas? Like, I'm not excited about Kyrie. I just think there's better guard plays, and it's tougher to get to some of these other options. On FanDuel specifically, PJ Washington does pop. So as a FanDuel specific play, I think he's better over there than he is over on DraftKings. And then when you kind of shift over to the Toronto side, I agree with what Big T said. Like, I don't hate Emmanuel Quickly. I think he has upside at the price. That's someone that I would definitely consider here. It is worth mentioning he lost his shooting guard eligibility on DraftKings. He used to have that. Doesn't have it anymore. Bruce Brown is 4K. He's kind of similar to a type of play like Kelly Olynyk, where could he get the run? Sure, but the floor is way worse than people realize. Like, he could absolutely get destroyed, where people have to think about the range of outcomes. Like, if you are building teams in SaberSim, or you're building teams in any optimizer, which a lot of people are using optimizers these days, if you just have Bruce Brown projected at 4K, well, he's probably going to pop up on the teams. And this is where I know Big T is good at eliminating guys and taking them out of the pool. You got to make a decision on if you think he's like a real player. Like, Big T, what do you think of Bruce Brown?
It's the same as Alec Burks. I made fun of it in the Discord all day yesterday. I watch all the content everywhere. People keep saying Alec Burks. Like, these guys never get there. Bruce Brown, I love Bruce Brown for what he did with the Nuggets. You can't play freaking Bruce Brown. Like, you just can't. There's just no reason to.
But this is where if you use an optimizer and you only just use projection,
just
and you don't actually like put some like effort into it, like, you're going to get a lot. And let's say you don't mind Bruce Brown. Like, I'm sure there's someone watching that thinks Bruce Brown at 4K has a nice ceiling and a good play. Well,
but why though? Like, what are they basing it on?
I mean, he's just 4K, and if he gets
look at his, and again, I know I probably game log look more than others, but like, if you pull a guy's game log up and he just has no games in the 30s for like 15 games, like, why do we think? I'm legitimately asking. Like, I'm not poking holes. Like, I just don't get it. Like, why do people always do that? Is it just because the projection tells them that?
Yes, I mean, yes, for sure. But that's where if I played Bruce Brown today, I would set a max on it. Like, I would not, or I'd maybe make it where I'm under the field or just straight fade it, right? I just think it's very, very important. So, and there's, I don't know if JC was supporting it, but JC said that Brown lost run to Dick and Agbaji. Maybe he's going the other way and saying he's not as good of a play. And hey, maybe that's because you need to adjust your projections, and maybe you'll just up Grady Dick and Agbaji. Maybe that's what you should do. JC will obviously talk about that on the Up the Lock show a little bit more in depth. But the point I'm getting at is we need to help read these projections, right? There's some of you guys that are working all day and you don't look at this. Like, it's just something that I think that Bruce Brown, I'm going to be way lower on than I think the field will be. There's a bunch of plays like that. There's a play later on that I'll discuss that I think people are on that I think is a terrible play that I don't understand why he's popping. Jakob Poeltl, he is questionable. If he does play, I actually think it's a really good spot for him, because I do feel like the Mavericks want to play bigger. They don't want to play these crappy lineups they played with more smaller ball lineups. Like, sure, they'll go to the PJ Washington thing if it does make sense, but at the end of the day, I think they want to play the Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively split minutes at the 5, and because of that, I think it's a good spot for Jakob Poeltl at 6.1K. I think he'll be able to show a nice ceiling. So if he's in, I'll like him. If he's out, that's going to open up some stuff, right? It's going to make us be interested in Kelly Olynyk. I mean, there's a good chance he would start then in that role. You can make a case if a Chris Boucher, who's questionable with an illness, well, if he's in at 3.6K, he certainly could get some decent run, and he's a good fantasy point per minute producer. So the news is really important with Jakob Poeltl in this game to help us decide some decisions. And of course, if Jakob Poeltl missed, yeah, that could give a boost to a Bruce Brown, who we talked a little bit about. Maybe not a huge boost, but it's just something to consider. So a lot of different plays on the Raptors that could pop up depending on how the news shakes out.
Yeah, certainly a lot depends on the news with the Raptors, specifically the big men. And another news-heavy game to start the slate here. Again, 2 games in this early 7:30 Eastern time window. It is half an hour later start than normal. Second game is the Pelicans at the Pacers. Another high total in this one, sitting at 237. Indiana favored by 7. No big news really that we're waiting on with the Pacers. Aaron Nesmith, who has missed a couple of games, may return. He could possibly cut into a guy like Benedict Mathurin, who's been fantastic recently, obviously, especially in the last game when he was a must-have. But the big, the big piece of news, the big side of news in this game is the Pelicans, who have 4/5 of their potential starting lineup questionable to play. We already know Alvarado is going to miss due to suspension. Dyson Daniels has been out a while. He remains out. But then CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, all questionable on the second half of a back-to-back here. I think it's pretty unlikely that they all 4 sit, but which ones sit, which ones play? I mean, kind of a guessing game at this point, Big T. I don't know if you have a lean on these guys, what they're going to do. It is obviously in the first window of games, so we will have this information by the time we need to set lineups. But obviously a pretty tough game to talk about from the Pelican side, just because we don't really have any idea who's going to play and who isn't. But Pelicans, Indiana, it should be a good game environment regardless. And then obviously depending on what the Pelicans do with all those questionable players, potentially a team that you really want to get a target against Indiana. Talking to Big T, Pacers, and Pelicans.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a game that we have to wait on the news. I mean, it's just, I don't have a strong take. I could say whatever, but I just truly don't have a feel on it. In this spot, I mean, they could legitimately sit all of these guys, and I wouldn't be surprised. They could sit 1 or 2 of them. They're playing Indiana, so I'll just give a couple takes about it. If everyone's in, like all these guys, I'm not going to play any of them. I just don't love it when they're all in. But each guy that trickles out, whether it's McCollum, who sat yesterday, maybe he plays today, and maybe someone else sits type of thing. I don't know. But each guy that drops out, and then each guy gets to be a better play. So, like if, say, Zion was out or something, Joval would be a way, way better play. Ingram would be a better play. But, I mean, this is all common sense stuff anymore in NBA. Everyone knows this stuff. Once they get ruled out, all these guys are going to get bumped. And just say a lot of these guys, say like all 4 of them or 3 or 4 of them were out. I mean, you're going to have guys that are total locks in this game versus Indiana. So there's really no reason to over-evaluate it right now. Just kind of go with it and just wait to see who the starters are, see who's in and out. And then the Indiana side, I mean, Indiana gives me fits. I don't think I have a worse feel on anyone in the NBA than Indiana. Every time I love a guy, they just don't do anything or they don't play. Even Halliburton, when I love him, he sucks. When I don't like him, he crushes. I have no feel for this team, but the good news is they play like so many guys. Nobody really pops tonight. I mean, Halliburton's fine, but I don't need that. New Orleans plays pretty good D. So as of right now, when we don't have all the news, I'm just going to be staying off this game. But a lot could change depending on who's in and out here.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the Pelicans could be anywhere from a team that you don't necessarily want to target if they all play to a team where you're playing, potentially 3 or 4 of them if all these guys end up sitting. Obviously, we won't have that news for a while, but we will have it before lock going, so we will be able to break down the Pelican situation. Obviously, maybe not on this show, but certainly in the Discord, on the Up to Lock show. We'll get to the bottom of whatever the Pelicans do end up doing in this game. But your general thoughts here, given the information we have, Mangone, on Pelicans and Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to break this down right now. But to be fair, this is a really good game. And, even if, let's say all those guys are in, could you make a case that Zion or a Brandon Ingram could be a good tournament play? Yes. Of course, they're playing the Indiana Pacers. But if those guys are in, it's going to hurt a lot of those bench pieces. It's just hard to make decisions on it. So I know it's a really terrible answer, but it's just how it goes. This is why watching the Up to Lock show is great, right? Let's say you don't have the news right away. let's say you don't know what the starting lineup's going to be, and the starting lineup comes out. JSU is going to break it down with whoever else is on, right? JBC, as we're making adjustments. Like, one thing I know me and JBC talked very heavily on the Up the Lock show was, listen, Alec Burks was popping. If you were playing Alec Burks, you can make a quick switch to Miles McBride. We also said we think McBride's the better player already. What happened? McBride absolutely crushed, just like Big T said. He was in the Discord saying Alec Burks sucked. I mean, that's the benefit of being a Run Pure Sports member, and we'll be doing that for you guys there. Tough to do on the free show without the news. Don't blame me, blame the NBA. When it comes to the Indiana side of the ball, I do agree with what Big T said. I feel very confident about being very much under on a lot of these plays. I don't think there's a lot of good ones to get to. The one argument you can make with the Pacers is like a rule of thumb is when these guys are cheaper, maybe you take a chance on them. Like Benedict Mathurin is 6.2K or Mathurin, however you say it. I know people probably are making fun of me in the chat because I always butcher his name. But Andrew Nembhard is probably naturally a better play just because he's $1,200 cheaper and you don't know where the minutes are going to be allocated. That's how I would handle this situation. If some guys are out there I don't expect, yeah, I'm going to change my opinion on it. But I think it's better to be under on the Pacers today. You could even make an argument today, maybe make a rule, max one of Halliburton versus Benny Mack. I think that's not a bad way to go about it. Maybe make a rule, max one Pacer, just because you don't want to get too much exposure to these guys. You don't want to look and have a team that has 3 or 2 Pacers. I just think that could be wrong. I know you don't want to rule yourself out of stuff, but I also think sometimes people have bad teams that they haven't, adjusted to, and you're just burning lineups that way. I know that's one thing Saberson helps kind of do a little bit, but other optimizers that you might be using maybe don't help you with that. So just some thoughts on how to handle this game.
All right. That's Indiana and the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, plenty of news coming down the pipe on the Pelicans over the next couple of hours. But for now, kind of a wait-and-see scenario with them. We'll move on to the only game, or 2 games rather, here in the 8 p.m. Eastern time window. First one we'll talk about is Cleveland and Chicago. Very low total in this one, sitting around 216. Cleveland favored by 5.5. These teams fairly healthy, at least. Kind of have the same guys that they've had available recently. Cleveland pretty much full go at this point, and then Chicago. Just one question mark tag is on Alex Caruso. I was pretty high on Chicago yesterday. They disappointed me in a big way, putting up 95 points against the Detroit Pistons. A sorry performance. I would expect them to bounce back to some degree today. And there is, I think, an interesting storyline here. It looks like some of the projections are gathering it the way I see it, Big T. But Chicago's shown a bunch of times over the last month or so willing to play Vucevic and Drummond together in the right scenarios. And I think Cleveland might be the number one scenario, given that they play Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, 2 non-shooters, 2 guys who don't space the floor together. We saw Drummond play 28 minutes back on the 14th, a couple weeks ago. Drummond put up 32 fantasy points in that one. So you could see Drummond out there more, especially given the injuries. Some of the injuries that Chicago's had. I think that's interesting. Overall, I don't think this is a game you want to go crazy with, just due to the slow pace and pretty good defensive abilities of both teams. But tight rotations here on both sides of the ball, and maybe some additional minutes to guys who you maybe wouldn't expect otherwise. So 6 games played, despite the low total, I don't think we can write this one off. Go ahead, Big T, Cleveland and Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, it's just overall, it's a 6-game slate where you have a bunch of weird spots, back-to-backs, different lineups and things that we're waiting on. It's kind of an ugly slate, which honestly, usually we do good with at Run Pure, which in the Discord right now, if you remember, I mean, you got people in there posting stuff about New Orleans, traveling all through the night, getting to Indy, all this stuff that's valuable to get in the Discord at Run Pure and get all that stuff, because honestly, in NBA, unless it's the no late swap, even those nights, because you still need the info before late swap, there's just no reason. You're up against it in NBA if you're not in a place like the Discord. But everything you said, I agree with. I mean, Drummond is not a great spot most times, but when you play Cleveland, they just want to play this big lineup. Jarrett Allen and Mitchell are going to play mid 30s minutes. I mean, what's Mobley been playing out of curiosity? He's been high 20s, low 30s. Still, though, you're getting a bunch of minutes from two bigs. Drummond has always been a good fantasy player. He's a bad basketball player. I don't like him at all basketball-wise. But as far as fantasy, when he gets minutes, he crushes because he gets so many rebounds. So he makes me like a lot of these other guys less and him more. Just like Vooch is going to get hurt from Drummond on the court. Even like DeRozan and these guys just are going to get less stuff with Drummond on the court, rebounds and stuff like that. So I like Drummond from Chicago, not much else. But the Bulls, I mean, I talked about hating the Pacers. I hate the Bulls too. Like they just have guys, DeRozan and Vooch, Kobe White. These guys always project pretty good. And I just don't feel like any of them really have upside. Kobe White probably does the most. Vooch has had some upside games, but DeRozan like pops every day in the optimizers, and he just never gets there. So that's why I know a lot of the really good players don't pull anyone out of their optimizers and stuff. I still, like Mangone said, I know I'm definitely not the best at like running 150 or anything. I'm not saying I am. But I just think you have to take guys like him out of there. They just don't give you anything. And I just hate people like that. I have to take at least a little bit of stands. And then the Cleveland side, I mean, so they're – yeah, because they won last night. They're on a back-to-back too. They got a lot of guys in. None of these prices really check out. I mean, you can always play Donovan Mitchell. You can always play these bigs if you want to. But, I mean, Mobley and Allen are both in the 7Ks. I just don't think I have a ton of interest in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, man. I'll be, even though he's not a high usage player, if Caruso does end up sitting out, I mean, this is a team that runs a really tight rotation anyway. Like at that point, I think White, DeSunmo, DeRozan are all looking at, frankly, 40-plus minutes in a close game. And then I think Drummond becomes even more interesting at that point. I agree with Big T. I don't really want Vucevic here. He's got a tough matchup either way, and he's got to slide kind of out of position to play with Drummond, right? Like Vucevic has got to be the floor spacer between the two because Drummond can't do that at all. So I don't like Vooch here almost regardless of what happens, but I might go back to Chicago, especially if Caruso sits. What are your thoughts here on this game, Mangone?
Yeah, I mean, one thing about Andre Drummond, which is like a key point on this slate, is when he is on the court, he soaks up a ton of usage. It's like if I was playing basketball with Big T, you'd want to roster him. But if I was playing with Snyder, I think you'd want to roster me, right? It just depends. Like it's just
still not.
Yeah. No, you want to roster me there, DC. I'm the better play. But Andre Drummond is a guy that he just, even though he's bad at basketball, he soaks up so much usage. It doesn't matter. Where it's going to hurt a lot of these other options. The one thing I will argue with Big T about with the DeRozan thing is I think on FanDuel it's a little different over there, but DK I agree, and we mainly talk DK, but I don't love these other options like the Kobe Whites, and honestly, they play Cleveland. Cleveland, if you didn't look at the standings this year, I don't think you would think Cleveland's number 2 and how good they've been. Like it just doesn't feel like it, and Cleveland's a team that could blow this team out, especially with Andre Drummond on the court. So there is that weird blowout factor, especially with back-to-backs and stuff. Not saying it will happen, but just something to think about with those expensive Bulls. So I'm going to be a little cautious with the expensive options. I definitely am going to like Andre Drummond. There's a good chance I lock him. You could make an argument that if, let's say that Ingram's out, Zion's out, and CJ McCollum, well, maybe I wouldn't want to lock Andre Drummond because you have Jonas Valanciunas on the slate, who's a really good center option. And then I can't lock Drummond and Valanciunas because then I can't get Jokic. So that's another thing to think about. Obviously, this could all change our opinions based on how some of the news goes, but Andre Drummond is clearly at this moment one of the best plays on the slate, 5,200. I know people are saying too it's a revenge game again, so you got the Andre Drummond revenge game against Cleveland. So there's that also lurking as well. But overall, Drummond's a really good play. The Cavs side of the ball, I think I want to be pretty under on a lot of these Cavs. I wouldn't make an argument with having a Donovan Mitchell, as like a contrarian spend up top, but overall, it's really focusing on Drummond in this game.
Yeah, it makes sense. It is funny. Everybody hates Drummond, but you get him in the starting lineup or whatever. It's like there's like a line around the block to play Andre Drummond tonight. So I still think he's a good play, but he is going to get some massive ownership at that $5,200 tag.
Yeah. Also, DC, to Spencer's question, he's asked it a couple times. Is it a double center night? Like, naturally, the optimizer is shoving that in just because Andre Drummond is currently like the best value, the only value. Some of that could change if you get other guys ruled out where it opens up. Like, let's say there's a bunch of value at guard and forward. But one argument to make towards that is if those guys are out, well, it's probably still a double center night because everyone has the value to go play Jokic. They're going to play Jokic or Luka. So maybe it for sure wouldn't be that because maybe people would go Luka over him. It just depends how you feel about Luka versus Jokic, which I'm sure Big T will give his opinions on when we get to the Nuggets game. But overall, it looks like it's more of a double center night.
Frankly, I think it's pretty tough to answer a roster construction standpoint at this point, a couple of hours before lock, because we just don't know who's going to be in and out. But in general, yeah, double center is, like, I would say in the aggregate, the best way to build on many nights. Just a lot of good values at the center position for sure.
Yeah, especially
the
the value
game
of Drummond
window is Memphis and Minnesota. This one has an even lower total than Cleveland and Chicago, sitting at 208.5. I mean, this has to be one of the very lowest totals of the entire year. Also could be a blowout. Minnesota favored by 12 or 13 points in this one. The Grizzlies obviously down to kind of a bare bones squad, but they will also be without Luke Kennard and John Conchar tonight. And then the Wolves will be without Kyle Anderson and potentially Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, who are both questionable to play. They both did play last night. I think the default with both Gobert and Anthony Edwards should be that they're in. They just don't miss very many games. But again, we will see. And, maybe the Wolves conclude that they don't need Gobert and Anthony Edwards to win this game and give them the night off. You never know. Karl-Anthony Towns, who missed last night's game with a personal issue, he will be back in there tonight. So I wouldn't expect any issues there. He would certainly get a bump if Edwards and or Gobert were to sit out. We'll go back to you first in this one, Big T, Memphis, Minnesota. And let me ask you a question. You've been a Gobert critic, a Timberwolves critic. Does this team have a chance? They're currently first in the West, best defense in the league. Title contenders, Minnesota, yes or no, Big T?
I mean, I think the playoffs are way simpler than people think. I don't think there's really that many teams that can win it. Minnesota definitely can't win it. I mean, they're not even close to in the ball game for me. I mean, could they upset? And I say upset, even though they're the 1 or 2 seed. Could they upset a team like the Clippers or something? I mean, maybe, but they're definitely not winning 16 games in the playoffs to get all the way through. They're just not. You can't play Gobert and Towns in a 7-game series and Conley.
I should have consulted you before I pulled the trigger on that 25-1 NBA championship.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way you actually think like they are gonna. You can visualize like Rudy Gobert holding up the freaking trophy, celebrating.
You think Carl is gonna step it up in the postseason? Carl disappears. He is not an alpha. He is a beta.
I don't even like their roster outside of Ant. Like their roster's not even.
I was ready to be hurt again by the Wolves. It's been a while. I kind of gave up.
I don't really believe that you think it's. I think that's your fandom. I don't believe that you believe it.
Definitely. Yeah,
it's definitely.
You actually do believe it? Like you're being serious? Like you believe they can win it?
I think they got a 25-1 shot. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, 25-1. And I don't have an issue with betting 25-1. It's not going to be a winning ticket.
I'll take a shot.
But I don't know. Like this slate, I know it sounds like I'm just backpedaling on all the games, but it's just one of those slates where. I mean, Minnesota played, and you just have guys that could sit that changes everything. Gobert almost didn't play last night. Now he's on a back-to-back against a bad Memphis team. Cat sat yesterday, right? Because Ant was the big-time play. So, I mean, if Gobert's out, Cat becomes a pretty good play versus Memphis. Ant, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if Ant sits tonight against a team like Memphis. To me, this is where I would rest some of these guys. I mean, they just played last night. It's a back-to-back. But again, like I can say it, we're just not going to know until we get more news, which is why you need to be a member. Watch Up to Lock with JSU, JBC. We're just giving these preliminary thoughts. So let's assume actually that these two are out, because I kind of do. Mangone, what's your sense with these two before I talk about it? Are they in or out? Like, what's your feel
On Rudy and Ant?
Yeah.
Well, Ant's ankle was pretty bad last night. I know he came back, but Ant's like a trooper. He kind of battles for those. I think Ant could sit. I think Rudy will play. So that's like my thought on it, but I'll admit I don't know for sure because Ant's I thought he wouldn't play the rest of that game, and Ant just came out there and played. He's a man.
If this was like a normal team and these were two normal players who kind of miss games occasionally, like I totally agree with Big T. This is a perfect spot. Back to back, a little bit banged up, horrible team. But the truth is these guys just almost never miss games. And I kind of think I don't know if it's even really up to the coaching staff for the most part. I think if Edwards and Gobert say, no, I'm good to go, I think they'll be out there. So I don't know.
I just don't. I think this team is just like they lean more that they play than they don't. Like it's just they're kind of battling for that 1 seed. And
they're tied with the Thunder. Yep.
Yeah, Big T, I'm going to try to save someone money. DJ, you said Warriors would be favorite over Minnesota in round 1. That is not correct. The Timberwolves are currently 25-1 to win the title.
No, I'm on their side. If the Warriors get in healthy, they will be favored over Minnesota. Make no mistake about it. What is the odds? They're the 1 seed. Of course, they're a lower odd.
I like my chances. I mean, I'm not a Timberwolves backer, but
even if they're not favored, Golden State will beat Minnesota in a playoff series. Make no mistake about it. You can have my action if they match up in that first round.
Yeah, I'll be sliding in, Big T. I'll be sliding in for some more.
Yeah, you won't have to go far. I will definitely be on Golden State.
You're going to learn Ant Edwards. You're going to learn Ant Edwards is the GOAT.
Against a team of champions against a team of bums that choke in the playoffs. Like, who am I going to choose?
It's not bums. It's like there's a bunch of bums, and then there's Ant Edwards who can carry those bums past the Warriors when Klay Thompson can't defend shit. But
I'm terrified.
Ant Edwards has the ability to carry that team to a Western Conference Finals, and then they'll.
Oh my God! Just you guys, I need a hand check from you two up on the top level up here.
Again,
going across the wow.
I don't think the Timberwolves can win a title, but I think Ant Edwards can drag Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns just further than people.
God.
I don't think they can win a title, though. I do not.
He's gonna drag him. He's gonna drag him past Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Like, my God.
I mean, it just depends what matchups they get. It's all matchup.
Who can they beat?
I mean, if they got Warriors round 1, that's like a great one already.
How are they going to beat Phoenix? I mean, they can't even probably beat Dallas.
It's the postseason. You can get lucky. If like one player dies,
no, you don't get lucky in the postseason, and nobody gets 7 games.
You can. Giannis got lucky and got to play the Suns in that one round. I mean, come on.
Giannis also is way more dominant than Ant is right now. But whatever. You guys can have Minnesota. I will have your action when we get there. That's I will be firm, and OKC for that matter. Whoever wants OKC, I will gladly go against them too. So everyone can have the 1 and 2.
If the Wolves win the title, can we get a Rudy Gobert box like Mangone?
Whatever you want. You set the bet. If they win the title, you can have whatever you want from me. Whatever punishment.
I need to go on record. Joe A., I do not think the Timberwolves can win a title. I don't think they're that good.
You can't go back. You're sounding like JSU now on those footballs.
It's just
were full stroke. Full stroke.
I'm just telling you, I think Ant is good enough to carry them a round or 2. I don't think they have the ability to win.
You said he's dragging them to the Western Conference Finals. 2 seconds.
That's a round or 2. It's 2 rounds, Tony. Do you know how to count? It's 2 rounds.
That's 3 rounds. That's 3.
And then he's gonna lose.
2 rounds is the semis.
No, it's not. It's you win round 1, you win round 2. That's you win 2 rounds.
Yeah, that's dragging them to 3 rounds. DC, if you said Western Finals, is that dragging them 2 or 3 rounds? You're the tiebreaker.
2.
2? You're dragging them 2? You guys are crazy.
Yeah.
You guys are just
get off my
court. You're dragging 2 rounds into the Western Conference Finals.
Oh, God. Minnesota. I can't even. Minnesota. Oh, God. I hate this game as far as tonight, though, unless we get guys out. If you guys are right and there's people, this is a good 6-game slate, in all honesty. And it lets you get rid of games. Like, if everyone is in this game, I actually like Rudy the most if everyone was in, just because he's 7,500. He's been good. But, Memphis, there's no way you're playing Memphis, guys. It's just an easy cross-off against Minnesota. The slate's kind of easy with where you're going to play guys from. So I don't know. I don't love this game, all jokes aside.
Yeah. Mangone, let's go get your thoughts on this game, not the Wolves in general. We already know you're on the right side and you're a Wolves truther with me. But
no, I'm not. I don't want to be a Wolves truther. I'm not.
You're in. No, you're in with it.
This is the problem. I love Ant Edwards and I hate Rudy Gobert. It's actually like the world's worst scenario. Anyways, I got to talk about this game. The news is super
best
important.
defender on earth, and you're giving them the hate. Come on.
Here's actually a really good point that I think we have to talk about. So if both these guys are in, I know some people were talking in the chat. I still think Jaden McDaniels is not good chalk. Like I know Kyle Anderson's missing. I just would be cautious with him. Like I think there could be way better chalk options on this site. Of course, ownership can move around and stuff, but I'd just be cautious. If Jaden McDaniels is somehow like 20% or more owned, I would be cautious with him. So just kind of want to call that out. Ant at 8,900 and Gobert at 7.5. I think they're going to be under-owned options that people won't get to. If Gobert is out, it's a really good spot for Naz Reid. Naz Reid would instantly become one of the best plays on the slate. So that's another thing to mention. And then
DC,
Memphis.
You gotta help your boy. He ran out of gas with his daughter hours ago. Everyone, police station gas. I mean, help your boy out with a 9-piece. He needs 9 bones. Not 9 bones is going to get him over the top.
I mean,
and while all that's going on, he's watching our show.
I mean, there's one guy on this show who has won $1 million playing DFS in a contest.
I got to give him the $9.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it out. There's one guy who has won a Millie Maker, and there's 2 guys who haven't. So I'm just going to say that. But yeah, so Memphis, it's definitely a spot I want to be cautious with. I mean, you just can't trust a lot of these rotations with a lot of these players, and it's just a deeper team than you would think. And I'm not saying it's deep with good players. I'm just saying it's deep with guys that will soak up minutes. That's the key. So I might even put a max of 1 Memphis Grizzlies on my team today. That's how ugly I think the situation could be. Again, depends on how all the other pieces of news shake out. So not excited about Memphis, a team I'm definitely going to be lower on. And, of course, Minnesota, we really, really need to get that news.
All right. That is Minnesota, Memphis. 2 more games to talk about. Before we do, a reminder, hit the like button. It does help us bring you guys these shows free of charge each and every day. If you do want to join RPS, get in the Discord, get all the takes, get the golf winners. It's I have been finding some success in the golf streets this season. RPS 15 will get you 15% off your first weekly or monthly payment. We'll move from the Wolves to the Nuggets. Big T's team, NBA champions, led by a champion, the Joker, who I think is in a really, really good spot tonight. Interested to hear your take between Joker and Luka Doncic, Big T. Both these teams should be healthy. De'Aaron Fox is questionable to play. I'm guessing he'll be in there. Obviously, that would change things for Sacramento were he to miss out. Pretty high total in this one, sitting at 231. Denver is favored by 7.5. Let's start with you, Big T. Sacramento at Denver. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, like I said it coming out of the All-Star break. All my Denver people were like, this team's gonna ramp it up, and I know I keep saying this on the shows, but they've just have proven it. Jokic sent the text to the rest of the group. All that, everyone's heard the story. They've been incredible. Sacramento, actually, I want to pull these scores up, but I think the Kings beat them the last 2. I want to make sure before I say this, though.
I believe so, yeah.
And it was kind of convincing, both of them. Both games, it was convincing W's. So, again, I know it was just a big game versus Golden State the other day, but I think it's a big game tonight for Denver. And if you're telling me it's a big game with a team that's beat them twice and they want to make a statement, I love these guys. I love Yoke. I love Jamal, who's 7,800 tonight. There's no reason he should be 7,800 against a team like the Kings. I just don't get it. And then you got the normal guys that I don't think are like locks, but are good plays. Porter Jr., AG, KCP. All these guys are pretty good plays. Even Peyton Watson at 3,500 and Christian Brown at 3,900. They got to get Christian Brown going a little bit. And he's played 20-plus minutes, 6 straight games. He's been better than people think. He's starting to – and this is pure eyeball test, but he's been finding a little rhythm, and he's 3,900. He's not going to project. I love Denver tonight. I think they're a great play, great plays fantasy, great bet, all that. And then coming back the other way, I like some of these Sacramento guys too. Monk looks cheap. Kevin Huerter looks cheap. Keegan Murray just went off the other night. I like these wings. I guess Fox is still questionable. At least that's what my thing says. Fox and Sabonis, if they're in. If somehow Fox missed, I mean, you're going to have some great value plays down there. So I love this game. This is the first game of the night that I really, really like. And honestly, the last 2 games are pretty good. So it's one of those slates where I don't hate the idea of waiting on a little news, sitting back and waiting for some things to hit, see what happens. And I do want to report, even though I think that our boy John was scanning and Mangone put the heat on, I did send him $9. I wanted to make that clear on Venmo. And now I'm upset because I went to his feed and it says 5 days ago, somebody else sent him money for gas. It says gas on there. John, you scammed me out of $9. You bastard. You got me. I was trying to be helpful. You got me.
I need to create some birds and start scamming Big T for some money.
Mangone made me feel bad. So I went in there and tried to help someone out. And it looks like he got a few other people on me. Very hurtful. 9 bones. I can't ever get that 9 bones back.
Well, they'll put a couple entries into the big $4, and maybe they'll turn that 9 bones into $100K.
John, if you run that up tonight in that $4, I better at least get 10% of my cut back.
No, you'll get nothing. We'll never hear from him again if he wins the $100K. Big T, you like the Joker over Luka, I assume?
I love Jokic. I mean, the dude he's literally just dialed right now. And like I said, I do think it matters that they've lost to him twice. Is this the 3rd or 4th? I couldn't get it to pull up. Is this the 3rd or 4th time they've played this year?
I think this is the 4th game, but they did lose 2 games recently.
Did they win the first one?
Not sure on that.
While Mangone's talking, I'll pull it up. I need to actually look.
Go ahead, Mangone. Kings and Nuggets here.
Yeah, I'm still laughing about the $9. I mean, I'm trying to think of ways to swindle Big T out of money over the next 5 days or so. So
the funny part is too, I just realized he sent another request to me for $3. He's grinding it on me.
You might. It's because he wants 3 entries in that big $4 today.
Yeah,
$9 isn't enough. So, but oh man, but gosh. Anyway, so no one else send John money. But John, please hit that like if you could on the way out.
And then he just disappeared. You could have at least laughed in here. You could have been like, "I got you, Big T," and then laugh at me. That'd be funny.
Yeah, that would have been good. But all right, well, let's talk about this game. Jokic is definitely a good spend up option that you can like on this slate. I honestly think games like this are really good for Aaron Gordon. I know Jamal Murray is back, but these kind of up and down style games, they just fit Aaron Gordon's skill set really well. So I definitely don't mind him in this spot. I don't love Michael Porter Jr. I just
real quick as you're talking through it, Sacramento actually beat them all 3 times. They beat them in December, February, and honestly, it was somewhat convincing. And I mean, they beat them by 30 the middle game. The other 2 were pretty close. So they're 3-0. This is a big game for Denver tonight. I like them more and more now that I know that.
Yeah. By the way, Kevin gave me a great idea. Big T, I am actually, when I get there Saturday, I'm going to take Courtney out for lunch. So if you would like to give me some money so I can send your daughter, get lunch for your daughter, that would be appreciated. So there you go. It's a good scam. But I do love Aaron Gordon. I do agree with Big T. I think the Nuggets bounce back in a big way against this team. I think it's a really good game environment. You got to like Jokic, you got to like Aaron Gordon. I think Jamal Murray is good. I just think it's fine. I want to sell on that Michael Porter Jr. price. I like him more when he's at that 5'8", 5'7", not that 6.6K price tag. So not excited about Michael Porter Jr. and some of those other cheap options. I think they're playing tighter rotations on the Nuggets, so I'm not going to be interested in any of the cheap options. Maybe a KCP, I'll say that just because he's a starter, 4.2K, but I'm talking about the other guys. If we don't get value on this slate, which I think we will, the Peyton Watsons and all these other guys, I just wouldn't want them. I think they're bad plays that don't make any sense. So as I look at the King side of the ball, De'Aaron Fox, he did go do shoot around. I think at 8.5, it's just definitely still a price tag that you can buy on. He's played a lot better too, so I think De'Aaron Fox is a contrarian spend up option. Of course, I like James Harden way more, who we'll get to, but I think he's a good contrarian spend. I think spending on Sabonis today, I'm just not interested in, so I'll pass on him. And Malik Monk at 5.6, he's someone I don't mind, and the rest of the values, I'm just not super excited about on this team. I think like all these other value plays, there's going to be way better values that we can get to. Like I don't want to play a Trey Lyles. It's just not a good spot when there's other options you can get to.
I think I think one of the teams, obviously, because I watched Denver so close, I think you're wrong about these cheap guys. Like Zeke Naji at 3,400, I think's a way better play than, I mean, he's going to be 0% owned because the projections don't give him anything. Pure eyeball test coming back from the break. They've leaned on him heavier and heavier. And I know he's only gone for 21, 13, and 13, but they've been big minutes. Like the Golden State minutes were big minutes. Some of the minutes that he's played have been key minutes, and it's just that price tag, 3,400. And yeah, if we get some value pop up, obviously you're not going to play Zeke Naji over whoever, but just say you want to play like a Luka Jokic team. I think Zeke Naji, and it reminds me a little of Jalen Williams last night, who won it for me. Everyone was playing those cheap OKC guys, and all they do is look at the projections. It's why NBA is always better. You can look at my results for 10 years. I'm always better February on because I start to get a feel for things. And like Jalen Williams last night, no one was playing him. He was the same price, and he was the reason I won because he got like 16. I think Zeke Naji at 3,400, Christian Brown at 3,900, and Peyton Watson. I think all those guys, I mean, Zeke has a little less with the floor, but I think all three of those guys could pay off his values. I mean, they're still only going 8 or 9 deep playing those guys. They're not, I mean, they're not playing. I think Strawther was even in the G League yesterday. So I don't know. He's probably back up now, but he's not going to play. DeAndre's not going to play. Holiday's probably not going to play. So, I mean, you're still only talking 8 or 9 guys.
I got to
dial when he's coming in with the Zeke Naji hot takes. So
I like Zeke Naji. I think he's a good play. I don't even think it's a hot take is the funny thing. They paid him a lot of money, and his minutes are ramping up after the All-Star break. I'm just telling you, like
I'm gonna derail the Zeke Naji talk by Jake said that John hopped over to Stochastic.
Was he seriously?
Dude, no. So I looked. I didn't see him in there. Maybe he was earlier. Dude, he's in the RG one. He's in there. He said, "Hey, family, I need your help right now." And then he said, someone said, Derek was in there, said, "John Dalton, go away, quit spamming." And John goes, "Sorry for bothering you."
If it ever gets that bad in life, like,
I'll say this. There's no way he's getting a penny out of the Stochastic dorks scamming on YouTube.
I mean, that's good. And then he left. He didn't even like sit around, and I would have respected him if he would have come back in here, make fun of me. Maybe I'll send you that extra $3, John.
Yeah,
show your face.
This is some wild stuff. Sorry to derail the Zeke Naji talk. I couldn't, but I guess the reason, Tony, I'm not like excited about this.
You're never playing a dude that's not projected like that, though. That's you're never.
I get what you're saying. Well, what I'm stating is I actually just think right now that I think that we're just not going to need that value. Like, I think the value is going to be really good where it's unnecessary. Another thing to call out, I hate that he's center eligible on DraftKings. I think that's kind of frustrating.
That part is definitely annoying.
Like if he was forward, I think I could get a little more behind it. Because when I ran stuff earlier, I saw some.
How much is he on? Is he 3,500 on FanDuel? How much is he on FanDuel?
That is a good question.
If he's forward on FanDuel, maybe I'll do it on FanDuel instead.
I didn't play FanDuel today, so I don't know, but I can pull it up right now real quick and check. Let's see. Here's the reveal. He is power forward and center, and he's 3,900. Yeah. Probably more viable. And like you might make fun of that play, but like the other day, Lamar Stevens was on a winning team. Like, and
it's always like that. I'm telling you, all you need for these guys, 3,400 is cheap. 3,900 on FanDuel is cheap. It all depends on the slate. When Luka and Jokic both get 75 or 80, you're gonna. And granted, like you said, when more value opens up, obviously you're not playing Zeke Najee over some Minnesota guy when those guys sit, or when we have clear value, you're not playing Zeke Najee. Like, just for example, I would project him for like 15 or 16, and he's projected for like 9. So if that hits him on your teams, go ahead. If it doesn't, like, I'm not projecting him for 25 or something. I think he gets a solid like 15.
Yeah, and I think, Tony, like you said, if value pops up, like, you're probably not going to get to him if it's like elite value coming up. But we'll see. I mean, because there's a lot of value that could pop up, and to be fair, it could not pop up. We could be sitting here saying we're waiting for the value, and then we just have none of it. We just feel like idiots. And then, yeah, I think those guys pop up more as really good considerations because they're still not going to pop up. Like, no one's playing him, even if value doesn't pop up.
I'll say one thing too. Like, we never play for blowouts. People won't play for a blowout here. You could catch some blowout run too, because Denver might lay some wood on this team. So you got more outs than just a close game too.
I'm in on the Denver. They got to get a win against Sacramento tonight. I think they get the job done.
How many games are they back in the actual standings? We never look at it, but like how many sack ahead of them or sacks behind them? I was thinking Minnesota and OKC. Never mind, scratch that.
Yeah. Let's get to the last game of the night. I do think it's a really good one to end the slate, and honestly, a pretty good 2-game slate tonight too. It looks like. Obviously, concluding with this one, Lakers and Clippers battle of Los Angeles. Clippers favored by 3.5 here, 234 total. Pretty significant news on both sides. For the Lakers, going to be without Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Wood, Gabe Vincent, and then LeBron James is questionable. I would assume he'll be out there for this one, but he has missed a few games here and there recently, so you never know for sure. I am operating under the assumption that LeBron will be out there tonight. For the Clippers, Paul George ruled out, which, man, some of these teams with like a very, very clear big three, you take one of them off the court, and the other two become awesome plays. I think that's the case for both Kawhi Leonard and James Harden tonight. And then potentially even more guys in play for the Clippers if Ibaka Zubac misses out. He is questionable with an illness in this one. Kind of a good game regardless of, obviously even if Zubac and James are in there, Big T. To me, James Harden, 8,400, Kawhi Leonard, 8,700 are two of the first guys I want in. But, if you're trying to play Luka or the Joker, you do start to run out of salary pretty quickly. So curious your thoughts here on the Clippers and the Lakers, Big T.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think obviously it's news dependent when we see these early games. But if you just save these last 2 games and treat it as a 2-game slate, assuming no news, again, I want to keep saying that so people understand what I'm saying. But if no crazy news hits, I love these last 2 games. James Harden and Kawhi are probably the 2 best plays of the slate, even better, and Norman Powell for that matter at 4,800. They're probably even better than Yoke, even though I love actually Jamal Murray. I would put in that group too. I mean, I think Jamal Murray's an incredible play tonight against Sacramento. But I mean, these Clippers, I still remember because I was coming back from the Nuggets played in Indiana, and I watched this game coming back the whole way the last time they played. The Lakers just could not stop them. The Clippers scored every freaking trip, and it was Harden and Kawhi, and these guys were just owning them. And I don't see why it would be different tonight. I mean, these guys are going to get easy buckets all night long. Harden, Kawhi, Norm Powell, Zubac, if he's in there, is a great play. Terrence Mann is a somewhat cheaper play that you can play. Amir Coffey, I would put him in that same bucket with Zeke Najee at 3,400. I'll project him for 16. If that hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Whatever. And I would actually put Coffey slightly ahead of Zeke Najee, but same bucket. I'm not giving him 25 or something, but I think Coffey, I mean, he's had some big games when like Paul George has been out and different things in the past. So you can definitely put him in at 3,400, but I love the Clippers just like the Nuggets. And I've had a lot of success in the past where I focus on 2 teams. I love Denver and the Clippers tonight. So if I end up and almost all my guys are from those teams and then a few fillers in between, I'm pretty happy with that because, man, these Clippers are very good plays tonight. And the Lakers, I mean, AD is in a great spot. LeBron at 9,100. These prices are starting to tick down a little bit. I mean, 9,100 for LeBron is very cheap when they need to win games. They're at the point of the year again where they need to win. They can't be losing. And I don't think they can beat the Clippers, but if LeBron and AD bring their game, they certainly can. And these price tags are cheaper than they've been. I mean, AD at 9,800 is very cheap. So I absolutely love this game. And I love the late too. I think there's a lot of strategy to that stuff where unless we get big time news, I don't like those first 4 games. Treat it as a 2-game slate, bury it in there, and come from last place and try to win something late.
It's kind of crazy, Big T. I think we both have success. The smaller slates you get, I consider at this point Showdown maybe my best format, and then smaller slates too. I seem to have more success. I know you've said that for years. It's true for yourself. It's crazy, especially with the way DK's approached a lot of these slates, where it's kind of almost 2 main slates where they cut off the last 2 games. Like your main team on a 2-game slate, if it's a good late one, will often outscore your main team on the full 7 to 9 game slate, way more often than you would think. So, like you said, reducing this slate to kind of these last 2 games for the most part is certainly maybe a more viable strategy than most people would otherwise think. Mangone, your thoughts here, Lakers and Clippers?
Yeah, the best way to kind of figure out if you should do that or not, in my opinion, is I would X off the first 4 games. Okay, or actually, first I would run a cash game optimal, right? I would run the optimal lineup. Let's say the score is 280. That is the top projected team. If I run just the late 2 games, and let's say it's your top team is then 265 or 263, if we're talking single entry stuff, I think that's a bad team. I don't think it's a good one, but obviously, you get what I'm saying. You just don't want to take too much of a projection drop. Sometimes you run it and you go, wow, it's only a 5-point drop. That's crazy. You know how much value I'm gaining in ownership from that? So that's a strategy. That's how I kind of figure that answer out, if it's worth it or not. Sometimes I run it and I go, man, my team sucks. I can't run this. This is not going to work. So it's just something that I think it's a strategy that you should use with an optimizer that I definitely use all the time. But anyways, I think this game is a really good game. I love the Clippers in this spot. Clippers are some of my favorite plays. I do think I'm going to set a max of 3 Clippers. I think 4 is a little too many for some MME formats. So that's how I would handle them. And I'm assuming the Lakers, they're going to play their normal guys. So I'm not expecting any value to open up there. So yeah, love the Clippers. I think Harden and Kawhi, both really great plays. I don't have a preference on which one's better, which one's worse. Norman Powell is definitely the clear best value on that in that game. And you could see also more value open up with Zubac being questionable. That's another big piece of news that could drop to open up value. Terrence Mann is a good play. Powell's good. Coffee. There's a lot of good plays in this game. And if Zubac does miss, then I think I would consider playing 4 Clippers. That's another thing to kind of mention there as well. And final thing, Jakob Poeltl. We just got news that he is in. So some news is starting to file in here on, some of these plays.
Absolutely. So Poeltl's going to be in there. That does reduce potential value there on Toronto just a little bit. You guys did okay with the legs. We'll do plays of the day, wrap the show up. We do have the Up to Lock show coming up, I think, in about 30 minutes with a little bit later start. But with that, let's get to our plays of the day. A little bit tough given all the news that we've got to wait on. And you obviously want to give a guy that you're actually going to play, Big T. So we might have to go little bit chalkier than normal for these plays of the day. But go ahead, Big T. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a lot of guys that are really good plays. I mean, Jokic, Harden, Kawhi, even Luka, AD, all those studs I love. I don't want to give those guys, though. I want to go a little bit lower owned. And like I said, should I go with Zeke Naji, Mangone? Just joking. But Jamal Murray has to be my play. I just think he's more than anybody. Yoke's definitely ramping up, but Jamal Murray wasn't an all-star. None of these Nuggets were even invited to the 3-point contest. Why was MPJ not in the 3-point contest? Why was there no one in the rookie sophomore game? They got totally screwed. They're starting to ramp it up with that. Jamal Murray at 7,800 is too cheap against Sacramento. I hope Fox is in. You got the little Kentucky back and forth going there. Fox versus Jamal. Even Monk was a Kentucky guy. Lyles, you got that little Kentucky dynamic. Jamal Murray, definitely my play of the day.
All right, Jamal Murray play of the day. A lot of people asking Big T about playback tonight, and now it's
yeah. It's not going to be for bad. Wednesday nights, I've been doing the golf where we'll watch some hoops and talk about golf. Later on, though, tonight, I've been going at like 10 on Wednesdays, and I think Drew wanted to come on and talk about some golf too late. So about 10 o'clock, we'll talk golf. And honestly, maybe I'll hop on a little bit because I think the biggest edge in NBA is what DC said, where the showdown, I think, has been solved. I've been crushing it all year, and I know a lot of people at Run Pure have. I think it's totally solved, and maybe I'll hop on a little earlier and we can talk about the late showdown and then go into some golf. So at some point later, though, we'll be on playback for sure.
Good stuff there. I will give my play of the day next. I'm going back to him. He was not disappointing yesterday. I guess he kind of got there. But Io DeSumo for the Bulls. This guy's playing 40 minutes every single night. I know the matchup's not perfect. But with Caruso questionable, I think he's going to get his 39 to 40 minutes regardless. He's finally learned to shoot the basketball. I know he was 0 for 5 from 3 yesterday, but been shooting it well. 5,500, need a little value. I'll go Io DeSumo. Kind of an ugly game. I still think he gets there given the 38, 39, 40 minutes he's likely to get. Mangone, let's go to you for your sweet Travis play of the day.
Yeah, actually, I had a nice little streak with the plays. I forgot what the last one was, but I know it did hit. I'm going to go with Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, another nugget. I just think it's a really good game environment. I think it's too cheap for the upside that he has. I always love these guys that are in this like 5 to 7K range that have a huge ceiling. So I will go with Aaron Gordon as my play of the day. And Corey Holt, yes, I think 10 o'clock Eastern is what Big T said. So hop on for the golf winners. Who knows what Drew will give? I know Tony and we gave out winners when we were on the last time. So hopefully you guys can get some winners tonight.
All right, that'll do it for us. We got, of course, the Up the Lock show coming up in a bit here, and then play back tonight. We do appreciate you guys all watching. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, for Mangone, for Big T, I'm Draft Sheet. We're out of here.